I'm here at the river. What a great place to read a story. Today we're going to read a story about a mouse that likes to be an author, just like what we're working on in writing. So my story's called Library Mouse by Daniel Kirk. There's the title page, and look he's in the library, so he's saying shh, because we're quiet in the library. Sam was a library mouse. His home was in a little hole in the wall behind the children's reference books, and he thought that life was very good indeed. Look at the library, and there's his little hole. Every day, when the library was full of people walking up and down the aisles, studying, checking out books, and working on computers, Sam was curled up in his little hole, sound asleep. Then every night, when the people went home, the room was dark and quiet. The library belonged to Sam. And guess what? He's a mouse, so he's a nocturnal animal, and he comes out at nighttime. And every night, Sam read. He read, and he read. Sam read picture books and chapter books. He read bibliographies and poetry, cookbooks and sports books, fairy tales and ghost stories and mysteries by the dozen. Wow, that's great that he can read. Sam's mind was filled with facts and information and images of faraway places, and his imagination brimmed over with wonder and fantasy. One night, Sam decided that it was time he wrote a book of his own. How exciting! He's going to become an author. Sam folded over some little squares of piece of paper he took from the librarian's desk to make the pages. Then he found a pencil that had rolled underneath the shelf, and he began to write. Write about what you know, Sam had read in a book about writing. So Sam wrote about being a mouse. He drew the pictures for his book by posing in the mirror and then sketching what he saw. Look at, he's using his imagination. That's really cool. Sam worked very, very hard, and finally his first book was done. He called it Squeak, A Mouse Life, and he wrote it on the cover. There's the title. He went to the autobiography section of the library, and he tucked his first book into the shelf. Then he went back to his little hole in the wall, and he waited. I wonder if anyone will see it. Do you think so? Oh, look at the little girl and the librarian. The next afternoon, sunlight streamed in through the library windows. "What's this?" asked a girl whose teacher had sent her to the library to do a book report. "I've never seen anything like this before," said the librarian, and she put Squeak, A Mouse's Life on her desk. Later, she showed it to the other librarians. How cool! Sam decided to write another book. It was called The Lonely Cheese. I wonder why he wrote about cheese. Yep, it's probably because he loves cheese. It was a good thing that he always found so many crumbs to eat by the trash basket in the hallway. When he finished the illustrations, Sam scurried to the picture books section and proudly placed his latest book on the shelf. And he went back to his little hole in the wall and waited. Look at The Lonely Cheese by Sam. See, he's the author and the illustrator since he was drawing the picture. The next morning, sunlight streamed in through the library windows. "What's this?" asked a little boy who was looking for a big book about trucks. "It's another book about Sam," said the librarian. Just who is this Sam? She thought to herself, and put The Lonely Cheese on her desk. Later, she showed it to the children at story time. Just like our story time, huh? Sam decided to write a chapter book. Wow, his third book! The Mystery of the Mouse Mansion. And it gave Sam goosebumps when he wrote down the scary parts. The full moon was shining through the windows. There it is. of the darkened library when Sam crept over to the mystery section and sneakily placed his book on the shelf. He went back to his little hole in the wall and he waited. Whew, another book. The next day, sunlight streamed in through the library windows. "What is this?" asked a teenager who was looking for a good, creepy book to read before bed. "We've got to find out who this Sam is," said the librarian. "I'll leave a note on the bulletin board and tell him that I would like to meet our new author." She put the Mystery of the Mouse Mansion on her desk, and later she showed it to the writing class that came in after school. That night, Sam found the note, and this is what it read. So the librarian wrote him a note. "Dear Sam, all of us at the library have been enjoying your books immensely. We are all wondering who this mysterious Sam really is. Whoever you are, you certainly have a lot of talent. Not everyone has it in them to write even one single book, let alone 3. We think it would be fun to meet the author day with you as our special guest. The children would love to hear about you read your book and share some of your secrets for writing. Yours truly, Mrs. Forrester, Head Librarian." Oh no, should they meet the mouse? I don't know if that's a good idea. Sam felt very nervous. He was happy that the children at the library liked his books. He was flattered that they wanted to meet him. But mice, as a rule, are very shy when it comes to meeting people. Sam could not understand why people thought that writing and making up stories was so hard. If only they would try, they might find out that writing was really a lot of fun. Sam had an idea. He went to the librarian's desk, he got out some supplies. All night long he wrote and drew and snipped and folded and stapled little rectangles of paper into mouse-sized books. In the morning, when the librarian opened the children's room, there was a sheet of paper taped to the door. "Meet the author day," it read. A little girl was the first to see Sam's display, all set up at the front table. "What is this?" she asked. There sat a tissue box with a pair of pencils taped to the sides of a banner stretched across the top. On the banner was written, "Meet the author," and the arrow pointed down. Do you think Sam was in that box? Let's see. Oh, nope. The girl bent over to look in the empty box. "Oh," she said in surprise, for there at the bottom lay Sam's little mirror. And in the mirror, the little girl saw her own face smiling up at her. "Me?" she said. "An author?" Next to the mirror was a stack of tiny blank books and a pile of pencils that Sam had sharpened with his own little teeth. Oh, do you think she could be an author just like you guys can, huh? Let's see. All that day and forever thereafter, people came to the little display to meet the author. Soon there was a whole shelf full of books written and illustrated by people who had never written a book before, telling stories that had never been told before. Sam was a library mouse. His home was in a little hole in the wall behind the children's reference section. All that night, Sam sat in his hole, thinking and thinking about the next book he would write. Would it be a mystery, an adventure, a funny book, a true story? There's so many stories to tell. He thought, I'll just have to write one of each. Sam picked up his pencil and got to work. Can you pick up a pencil and try to? And that is it.